Welcome back to another episode of Expats in Ukraine with your host, me, Corey. Today, my guest, she is from Norway. She is a medical coordinator and she is a medic. Her name is Jeanett Dyrseth. Did I say it right?
Yes, that's
Dyrseth.
correct. Dyrseth.
Okay. And so I'm sure you've seen like a couple of my episodes before, maybe like one or two, or hopefully.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah. So usually I like to start with an icebreaker. It's kind of like a this or that situation. So you just pick one of them that you prefer.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready? Sure.
I'm
They're
ready.
going to be really tough. Okay. So I hope I'm saying this right. Fenalar or solo?
Fenalar.
What's fenalar?
So that's like the meat from the sheep,
Uh-huh.
and it's so delicious.
Yeah, because I saw it. It looks maybe like beef jerky or something like this.
Yeah, but it's like more softer.
Okay, right
It's
on.
more fresh, kind of.
And you're not
fresh.
you're not a solo fan.
I mean, I eat it.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite, but I do eat it. Yeah.
Okay, so next one. Lini akvavit or samahon?
Akivit,
Akvavit.
of course.
It's like, what is akvavit?
So I don't know exactly what it is. It's kind of like a vodka, but I don't know how to explain it. It's really good.
Mhm.
I personally think it's good,
So it's
but
alcohol, right? So it's like
it's alcohol and it's strong.
herbal
Yeah,
flavored alcohol. I think I saw.
yeah,
Something like this.
yeah, kind
Okay,
of.
right on.
And we drink it in Christmas time. It's tradition.
Okay, so
Yeah.
far you are 2-0 for Norway. Let's see. I mean, I think I know this next one. Vikings or Cossacks?
Vikings.
Vikings, of course.
Of
You're
course.
so Norwegian. I already knew
Yes.
the answer. And this is the toughest one, I think. Haugesund or Kyiv?
100% Kyiv.
Oh, wow. There it
Yeah.
is. That was the
Yeah.
most important one. You answered it
Yes,
correctly.
Exactly.
And I'm sure you get asked this next question a lot. So, what the hell are you doing in Ukraine?
Yeah, what am I
Because I get asked
doing?
this question a lot. It's like, why are you here? If I was in the U.S., if I was from the U.S., I would stay there.
Yeah, what am I doing here? No, so I do several different things. Obviously, I am a medical coordinator, and one of my job is to assess the medical need in the frontline, as terms in the stabilization point or in the field hospitals, and also the military hospital general here in Ukraine. So that's kind of like my main thing here. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because I get asked this question a lot. I'm sure you get asked it a lot, right? Norway's a beautiful country. It's actually one of the few countries I've never been to in Europe. And I'm just saving it for last, I guess. Best for last.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so before we start, we'll talk about like what you're doing exactly in Ukraine, because it's such an interesting story. I did like a bunch of research on you, and thank you so much for giving me like a short bio on you. That was really nice. But yeah, so what was your life like prior to coming to Ukraine? What were you doing in Norway?
So in Norway, it's it's a safe place to be. Everybody has their families and their work. It's kind of like the normal good life in any terms, I guess. And I never knew anything about Ukraine. Like I remember I was so shocked the first time I was entering the border, because we have like an organization.
What year was that?
I came to Ukraine in April 22.
22. Okay.
Yeah.
wow.
But prior to this, there was a Norwegian organization who was like sending supplies down to Ukraine like the last 20 years. And all I knew about Ukraine was the pictures they were posting, people living in very poor places and in shelters. And like that was the image that I had of Ukraine. Like I've never seen photos of any of the big cities or monuments or anything. Like I didn't know more than this organization was showing us at home. So I had a big shock when I came to Lviv and Kyiv. So yeah.
Yeah, so you were living a comfortable life in Norway.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to come to Ukraine? What motivated you? I know there's a war going on, but you said you saw images, but what inspired you to actually just take the leap?
So I was at my friend's house. We were having coffee, and on the news, the invasion happened here in Kyiv. And there's terrible images where you see the children were in like these shelters, and that the picture of these children was the one that triggered me. And like me and my friends at home, like we have to do something. I had a background from before working abroad in humanitarian.
Hmm.
And so we decided to, get the basic stuff for the guys who was leaving Ukraine. So we gathered a bunch of medical supplies and, food and clothes for the kids and toys and everything. We raised money. And we came down to Poland, to Chemish at the border. And we were receiving a lot of refugees. We started coordinating buses and like flights if they wanted to go to Norway. And when I was there, that's when I met this private ambulance service, a Polish,
Hmm.
and they were heading into Lviv. They were transporting children who came from the front lines or like in the cities where it was pretty bad. And they needed people. I was a medic from before, so I joined them at first, and we was transporting kids out of Ukraine.
And this was in April, or was this
Yes.
April? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
2022.
Well, maybe it was March, April. Yeah.
Okay, right on. So it's like right after the invasion.
Yeah.
You decided
Yeah.
to do something right
Couple
after.
of weeks
Wow.
after.
So I know you seemed kind of motivated or inspired that you wanted to help and do something, but what is the overall sentiment at the time, or actually even now in Norway, about what's going on in Ukraine?
So Norway is actually very, very obsessed with the situation here in Ukraine. Like
Really?
everyone is asking what's happening. And the thing is, like the media, when, for example, the war broke out in Israel or Gaza situation, when media kind of left Ukraine,
Hmm.
people, they were like, "Oh, the war is over." Like, so the media decides how the people in Scandinavia, and so I don't know what to say, but they are very, very helpful. Like the Norwegian government has provided millions of money and supplies and military equipment. So Norway is a big helper to Ukraine.
Well, it's great to hear. I don't really know much about Norwegian politics. Who's the president or prime minister or king?
Now, good question.
Oh,
So
whoa.
I've been away for a long time now.
Yeah.
I think it's Støre.
Still.
Støre.
I like your
Yeah,
accent.
he's
Still.
our
Yeah.
prime minister.
Okay, right on. And
We have a
he's-
king,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we
I
don't
know you
have
have a king
president.
as well, and you have
Yeah.
kroners.
Yes.
And
we do.
do they have like the holes in the middle of the coins?
Yeah, the fivers.
Oh,
The
okay.
five.
Okay.
coin, yeah.
Yeah, I've never been there, but yeah, I've played with kroners before from Sweden, Denmark.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I collect foreign currency. It's kind of like a hobby of mine.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's good to hear. So the current government in Norway, this is more right leaning or left leaning? Like more, I guess, conservative, more
Yeah.
liberal.
No,
Conservative.
conservative. Yeah.
Conservative,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And how much power does the king have? Is it just
Well,
like the figurehead?
officially, like on papers, he has the highest to say, but I think that's only on papers because
Mhm.
he doesn't decide anything. Yeah.
Okay, has he ever come out and said anything about Ukraine? I'm just curious.
Yes, of course. He follows the situation very close, and he has great sympathy.
A lot of
Like
sympathy.
my
a lot of
English is
sympathy.
terrible.
Your English is
Like
great.
he supports Ukraine very much. Yeah.
Okay, right on. And I know it's not related to Ukraine, but in Norway they have like a high level of English. I know you're so like self-conscious about your English, but your English is great. And yeah.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know in the Scandinavian countries they speak English like so well.
Yeah. So we have a lot of English in school, obviously, but I don't know. I struggle a bit. It's like the hard words, how to pronounce them.
Pronounce them,
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah, I mean it's not as hard as pronouncing, what was this word? Fenalach.
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 Yeah, you need to.
Fenalach.
Fenalach. Yeah.
Okay, there it is.
Like a
I feel
rabbit.
like I'm like 0.1% Norwegian now. Okay, so you saw Ukrainian photos, you were inspired, and then you were helping at the border, with these like relocating people, I guess, from these frontline areas.
Yeah.
And then you entered Ukraine in
Yes.
April, you said. What were your first impressions?
My first impression was obviously when we were picking up these kids from either there were, kids with cancer, but also there were kids who was wounded because of the war, because of the missiles and everything. And to see this for like small children, it really affected me. So that was quite difficult. And just to see all the military, around and the roadblocks and everything, it was very different from the life in Norway.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Well, I can imagine when you see, kids that have been affected by this war. To me, it makes me so mad.
yeah,
And then you think about who's responsible for it.
yeah,
It's Russian people, Russian government.
yeah.
Has your perspective changed about Russia since you've come to Ukraine?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to be honest, like I didn't know that they were actually capable of doing what they're doing now. And, the story comes all the times about, when the Russians are occupying cities and how what they're doing to young kids and a very, very young age. They're, you know, raped, they are killed, they are just executed like a blank shot in the head. And these stories comes all the time, and it's just heartbreaking.
Have you ever talked to one of these people, like, firsthand, just someone that's been through occupation like this?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have. I have. And that is really difficult to talk about. I've talked to a mother and a grandmother and other who was affected, like their children. I don't want to speak about that now because it's really
Of course, of course.
it's just terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, being in this, like, I feel like it's like a dream job, it's inviting interesting people like yourself to come to the podcast because I meet, interesting people. But a lot of times these stories they tell me, it's just kind of, I don't know, it shocks me. And these are firsthand stories,
Yeah.
and I can imagine kind of what you're going through with these people telling you these stories. And
Yeah, what to say? Like I've been meeting this civilian people who has been affected both in my humanitarian work, but I've also been volunteering working in the hospitals. We had patients coming in, and we are the first to receive this child after it's been. So it's just it's terrible. It's
that's,
it's just horrific, and I they're not human beings. The people who's doing they're fucking monsters. Excuse my language, but it's just terrible.
yeah, I know it's, ever since, this Bucha Irpin thing came to light, after they got kicked out of this area, it's so sick. This is like the first glimpse at what Russians are capable of.
Yeah, but we
Eh,
hear the same stories in Avdiivka, in the Donetsk area, and I'm
Yeah,
guessing all over where they've been. We keep hearing these stories. It's
yeah.
it's not like it happened a couple of times here and there. It's happening all over Ukraine.
And Ukrainians, they're such better people than Russians, like a million times better. Because right now they
100%.
did this incursion into Kursk, and I've seen nothing, but the military people, they're treating the civilians with such respect.
Yeah, they're even bringing them food and medicine, and it's like wonderful. And you can see like the pictures to compare how they meet the civilian who didn't, you know, um, escape. So it's 100 times like Ukrainians are are 10 million times better than the Russian. They're just monsters.
Yeah, exactly. And then, yeah, because on my social media, I get like a lot of these trolls that message or comment, and it makes me so sick or just so angry when they say like, "Oh, f, Ukrainians, they're like sick people, go Slava Russia" or something like this. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like,
Yeah,
there's been videos of, I don't know, horrible atrocities your country is
yeah,
committing, and you're standing by this. I know it's probably like a bot farm, or this person's hired to do this,
yeah.
or it's just like a bot in general, but it makes me so mad. I have to respond to them, and
I think the
yeah,
civilian in Russia, like they're manipulated. Like they believe what the government are saying to them. Like they don't. I don't know how it's possible because we're like in 2024 and we all have social media and we can see what is going on here in Ukraine, and how the people in the civilian people in Russia are not like shocked and disgusting about what's going on. I do not have a clue why.
yeah. I mean, there's like several reasons. I think one of them is they're stuck on Russian internet, so a lot of them don't really speak English, right? Sure, there's translators available, but they
Yeah.
stick to this Russian internet, and the Russian internet is usually just propaganda.
Yeah,
And second of
absolutely.
all, a lot of the social media platforms are starting to get kind of banned in Russia. It's starting to become like China 2.0,
Yeah.
where they just have like the media that they want. on the internet.
Yeah.
And plus, the education system is not the best, especially in rural areas. And this is not like a flaw; it's like by design or something like this. I'm not saying that they're to be excused
No.
because you have a brain. You can
Yeah.
obviously think and do some research. It's not
Of
that hard.
course. Yeah.
You have all these resources online.
Yeah, but then again, you have so many people in Russia who has families here in Ukraine. I've talked to maybe 10, 20, maybe more people here in Ukraine, and they call their families in Russia. They explain what's going on, and it's like when a family member, it can even be like a sister, or brother, or mom, or dad, and what that person tells you that, hey, this is what's happening now, and then the people in Russia is like, no, you're lying. That's not true. And it's like, seriously? I like, how is that?
It's like
Like, I don't
it's
understand.
like 1984. It's like very Orwellian. I don't know. Like it's a dystopia over there. I hope Russia comes crashing down. I hope it gets balkanized, so it doesn't have this much power as it has now
Yeah.
because it has like so much land and resources.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion, I guess. But anyways, I'm starting to get upset. So
Yes.
yeah.
Oof.
But anyways, let's talk about. So you came to Ukraine. You crossed the border. Your first impressions were with these refugees. And then what did you do next? So you were staying like near the border area, or did you come to Kyiv right away? Or
No, so I was in Lviv, going back and forward there, evacuating these children. And then I came across an organization called Parkour.
what was it?
Parkour.
Parkour. Okay.
Parkour, yeah. So they were based at the border, but so their mission was going like deep into Ukraine. So I joined them, and I went to Kramatorsk. That was also in April, and it was pretty bad at that time. We were most hanging around in Pokrovsk area. We were like planned to set up like this medical clinic and to support like the people around there. And one thing led to another. I ended up in Kramatorsk, on and off, because I was traveling back and forth like Ukraine, Norway. So I was at Kramatorsk Hospital for on and off like in a year. And, to be there that close to the front line, and to see the, the wounded coming in and the situation there, and it's
Like,
I don't know what to say.
yeah, I don't remember what the situation was like in 2022 April in Kramatorsk or Pokrovsk, but I imagine wasn't good to say the
No, they
least.
were under constant artillery and
Yeah.
missile attack. It was pretty, and most of the civilian were evacuated, so there were not many people there. There was like only military. So I remember like to see like after, I don't know how long time that lasted, but after some months or maybe a year, I don't remember. We had the civilian coming back, and like I would say like a half a year ago when I was there and then you could see like it's kind of like a normal city again. Like
Hmm.
obviously there is a lot of military, but it feels kind of normal, like not as it was in 22 because everybody was leaving.
Like, what's the vibe like? Do they have curfew at the same hours like they have in Kyiv, like at midnight?
Yeah,
Or
so in Kramatorsk, it's I think it's 8 or 9.
okay,
Yeah, I think it's 9,
nine
but it
whole.
might be 8. Yeah.
And there's a lot of checkpoints, I imagine,
Oh yeah.
like block
Yeah,
posts.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Mm,
Okay, wow.
yeah.
And so you were in Kramatorsk and Pokrovsk for how long? It,
Approximately a year.
a
Yeah,
year. Okay.
not Pokrovsk. I was
Oh
just
no,
there for like a couple of weeks, and then I ended up in Kramatorsk.
in Kramatorsk. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to me. You go from the border area, Lviv, just straight to Kramatorsk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in Kyiv like 9 years, more or less, and never been to Kramatorsk, never been to Kharkiv, even back in the day, like
Oh yeah.
2015.
Oh really?
I've never been. Yeah,
You
I mean,
should go.
I want to go because I'm starting to get into more kind of, I guess, journalism, I guess, at my job. And this is kind of, I figured out this is the direction I want to go in. And a lot of my friends say, okay, you need to go to Kramatorsk. And then from there, we can do some, I guess, like interviews. We can do some stories. Yeah, I need to finish getting my credentials and all this, the military accreditation. But this is something that I want to do.
But
I'm like
now
a little
the
worried.
situation is pretty bad there
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Even today, we had like this journalist who, so it was a missile to the place where they were staying, and he's missing. I think it's still under the rubble. So today is, yeah,
Oh wow.
It's really sad.
Okay, so you were volunteering in Ukraine the first year in Kramatorsk, right?
Yeah.
Was it any specific organization, or was it the same organization you mentioned before? The
No, so that was with the 81st Brigade.
81st. Okay,
Yeah,
right on.
so I was going back and forth between the hospital and their stabilization point.
Mhm.
I'm not going to say where it
Yeah,
is
of course.
because of safety reasons.
Mhm.
So what I was doing there, basically, I was supporting them with the medical supplies and all of that, and I was volunteering as a medic, exchanging experience. I'm learning from them, and they're learning from me. Like we have different backgrounds, and yeah. So I was just the first year, I was just going back and forward there.
Mhm. And you answer this backstage, but I'll ask you again so everybody else knows. Do you speak Ukrainian or Russian?
I do not.
Do not.
I do not.
Do you know like simple phrases? Привіт, дякую.
Yeah, I like the basic stuff and the bad words, which I'm
Yeah, of
not gonna
course, of course,
say.
of course, of course.
But that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so my question would be, how do you communicate with people? Whether it's the people that you're helping or the people you're working with, is it mostly in English, or is there always like some issues?
So actually, most of the people that I've been working with regarding like a medic or a coordinator, medical coordinator, is that many of the doctors or the nurses, they speak English. So there is always like if you work on a team and you're 3-4 people, it's always usual 1 or 2 that can speak English there. So we always use that people to communicate. If not, it's kind of like I understand a bit Ukrainian. I can understand if by seeing the body language and their tone, and
Hmm.
I understand what the situation is about, but to speak it, it's very difficult. I'm actually embarrassed. Like I've been here for like 2.5 years, and I can barely.
No, it's a tough language. It's a tough
It is
language. Yeah.
extremely hard, and I'm trying to like learn how to read, and the whole alphabet is just the opposite of what I think it is. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's very
Yes.
hard.
No, I mean, right now I'm taking, by the way, since you're a volunteer here, there's this program, I'll tell you later. They'll give you free English, or excuse me, Ukrainian lessons for a month or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll recommend that to you as well, because I'm taking it and it's free, and I think I'm progressing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I learned Russian early on, so I could probably speak it like at a B1, maybe B2 level on a good day. I can
Yeah.
understand a lot. Ukrainian I understand a lot, but I speak very poorly, and I just speak Surzhyk, which is a mix of Ukrainian and Russian. And
Uh,
even like my tutor, she was saying like, "Corey, stop speaking Surzhyk. This is a Ukrainian class. Speak Ukrainian." I'm like, I don't even know the like which word is which. My brain gets confused.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm really kind of sad that I decided to learn Russian at the beginning. I'm just kind of kicking
Yeah.
myself for
Yeah.
it, because Ukrainian is such a beautiful language.
It is.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and I really want to. Like I'm really motivated, but there still like you have to. If you have to learn a language, you need to sit down and you need to spend time with this. And there is not always that much time. In between, I have some time, so I think I should do it in my
Yeah, yeah,
in this free time to actually prioritize because I really want to learn. I really want.
yeah. But I understand you're a very busy girl, though, right?
Yeah, I am. I'm here and there.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're very busy. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and I really respect what you do. And when you're over there, you typically you turn off, right? Like from social media stuff because you're just focused on work. Is
Yeah, like I always have my phone on, so
Mhm.
I'm always available. But it's depending on the situation. It's depending on where I am. Like obviously, I've been to very different places, different field hospitals or stabilization points, and it's kind of like how is the situation there now? Because the situation can change.
Of course, of
That month
course.
is easy, and next month it can be chaotic, and then it's like calm again, and
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about your time. You were with Azov, right?
Yes.
Doing some work with Azov.
Yeah.
So, as you probably know, Azov is kind of controversial, to say the least. Do you feel like there should be controversy around Azov?
No, absolutely not. So it's very, how to say, I understand why people are skeptic, and I understand that there was a group of people who was with Azov in way, way, way back in the days, many, many years ago. And you will always have a little group of people who will like ruin the whole reputation for the whole brigade, or how we're going to refer them as. Um, Me personally, I've spent about 1.5 year together with Azov, and I haven't met one single person who is, as they referred them to by their reputation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I remember I was watching an interview with you, or it was just like a clip, I guess, and I think it was with United 24 or something like this. And you were saying you've come across a lot of, Russians with like swastika
Yeah,
tattoos,
that
or
was the craft interview.
okay,
Yeah. So we were just, talking because there was a lot of saying, how the Russians saying that they came here because Ukrainians are Nazi and everything. And when the situation was ongoing in Bakhmut, we had a lot of wounded coming into our staff point, Russian, and of course we're treating them as well. And to see, with Nazi tattoos, it was so interesting because how they like say, yeah, we come here to Ukraine, we're gonna save you from the Nazi, we're gonna save the people because the government and everything. And here you have the Russian soldiers coming in with their Nazi
hmm,
tattoos, like literally the Hitler cross and different others. And it's just funny how stupid they are.
yeah, it's like so, yeah, ironic, I guess, because
Exactly.
these guys with swastikas are fighting Nazis,
Yeah.
but it's like if you're fighting Nazis, you're fighting one of your own. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's Russia for you. Nothing makes sense over there. Up is down, blue is red, water's not wet. But anyway, so I know that you were helping out around Bakhmut, right? Around
Yeah.
the time it was like really
Outskirts.
hot
Yeah, outskirts.
on the outskirts. Okay, can you
Hmm.
tell me about that? Because it was really hot around that time, and I'm sure you were dealing with a lot of people, right?
Yes, there was a lot of people coming in, so we were very busy. Um, Regarding situation in Bakhmut, I that was just terrible. There was many, like we all know, it was big losses in Bakhmut. It was pretty bad on both sides, and obviously more on the Russian side. But still, Ukraine lost, many good guys there, and to like stay on the outside to see the situation. And I have a lot of friends who was working inside there, and to hear the situation down there, it was just terrible.
Yeah. How do you deal with all of this like mentally? You must have like some trauma, right? Because I watch videos and I keep up with news, and to me it kind of traumatizes me a bit and I get desensitized, and sometimes I disassociate, like what the heck is going on? Like how do you deal with it being there firsthand experiencing all of this?
I don't know, I think it's just how I am. Like, obviously it's terrible when you see a person with terrible wounds or injuries. And I've worked many years with this. So when I'm when I'm working, it's kind of like you put the cape on, and then you focus on your job. It doesn't like affect you in that way. But once you like take that off and you try to, I think it took me some time to, when you're working and when you're not working, you kind of just, you don't think about it as
Hmm.
much. But what I think is pretty hard, because in the beginning, like when I was treating people, it was people I didn't know. But after spending a lot of time here in Ukraine, obviously you make new friends, and you meet a lot of people. And when you kind of like have to treat someone you met, or how,
Hmm.
that's pretty hard. But what's the most hard for me is when you meet the families, or the brothers, their team. That's when I have a breakdown. That's really hard.
Hmm.
But obviously it's very important. So my plan was, like, I would say, at least like the first year, maybe the 1.5 year, I was going back and forward. So I was doing 2 weeks in Ukraine, and then I had like 2 weeks in Norway. And so, coming back to Norway, I was talking with the psychologist. I was talking with my friends and my family, and I was, venting about everything. And I'm just very lucky to have very good people around me, both in Norway and Ukraine, to kind of like talk about what you see and what your experience with everything.
And what does your family think about you being in Ukraine?
Oh, that's a different story. So they support me, they do, but they don't like it. Like
Mhm.
my dad is literally texting or calling me every other day, just like, okay, Jeanette, you're coming home now.
Mhm.
I'm gonna take away this from you. I'm gonna take away that. So he's kind of like, but still they support me, and they, they're afraid that something would happen. I had
Of
some
course.
some some accidents down here, so of course they're worried, but most of all they support my choice. They
Mhm.
know that I'm doing something that I want to do, that I have passion for. Like obviously I could, live my safe good life back in Norway, but I choose to be here, and this is what I want, and I'm going to continue to be here for as long as the war is going on.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry to bring this up. You said accidents. You had many close calls?
A couple.
A couple? Care to share one?
um no, I don't want to go in details, but there've been a couple of I just
Close calls. Okay.
not that close,
Okay.
but there is always some where if you're in the front lines and it's always, near.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and when it comes to when you were, at this field hospital, I guess near the Bakhmut area, you said there's a lot of casualties. What is, one of the injuries that was like more common that you would see, among the people that would come to you, or would it just be varied?
Oh, it's mines and drones. Like you have blast to your legs and to your arms,
Mm.
most cases. And
Like FPV drones?
yes, yeah, and especially mines, like and yeah, we just call it blast injuries.
Hmm.
That was the most cases, and the second most cases is actually the guys who has the tourniquets on for too long.
Hmm.
And I just had a meeting with the chief doctor of armed forces here in Ukraine, and we were discussing and talking about the situation of the soldiers being in hospital now. And he said the biggest group of patients now is actually the guys with the tourniquet on for too long.
Okay, can you explain maybe to the audience, also to me, how long can you keep a tourniquet on, and how long you should keep a tourniquet on,
So,
and what are the rules regarding tourniquets?
well, we say like, okay, if it's for like 4 to 6 hours, that's okay. If it's like longer than that, it can be, you can have the tourniquet syndrome, as we call it.
What's tourniquet syndrome?
So it's kind of like if you have it on too long, when if you release, like when you, oh, this is a long story. Can we just skip that?
Okay,
That's
okay.
like,
I was using this as an educational moment.
yeah. No, but basically, what's happening? The problem now is that when the guys who's out in the field, they have very little training, and they just see blood because, and they
Yeah.
put on a tourniquet, and it can be like the blood from your veins or something. It doesn't have to be like blood loss that will kill you.
Mhm.
But guys just see the blood and they put on the tourniquet high and tight, and and they don't take it off. Like even if to do a case evac, it can take everything from 2 hours to 3 days. And it's so important to like that's one of our focuses now, is to do the training where the tourniquet convention, or you my brain
It's
it's
all right.
not
Take your
working.
time.
Replacement, tourniquet replacement,
Mhm.
because 70% of the cases where they actually put on the tourniquet uh, should be there, but the rest shouldn't be there. So you can just stop a bleeding by tamponating, or like just to put on a compress and just hold.
Mhm.
You don't have to always put on a tourniquet. Like if you put on a tourniquet and you keep it like under 2 hours, that's fine.
Mhm.
But when it's going longer than that, that's when you can have
Yeah, you
problems.
can potentially lose a limb, right?
Yeah,
Because it
yeah,
doesn't circulate the blood.
yeah. Because you're when you, as I said, when you put on tourniquet, you stop the bleeding, and if you loosen up the tourniquet, what's happening is like well, it's kind of like it's poisoning,
Yeah.
so it's really dangerous. And if this goes up to your heart,
Well,
it's deadly.
yeah, I have like a little issue with blood. Whenever I think
Yes.
about it, I just, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's probably why I haven't been to this eastern area. Um, but yeah, so tell me, it was your first day as a medic. What was your experience like? Did you expect it to be how it was, or was it crazier?
No, it was. I remember very well my first patient
Hmm.
in a start point, and there was a guy coming in. He has lost both legs underneath, and you can just see like the bones and the flesh just sticking out. And I remember I was saying to myself like, okay, this is how it is. This is kind of like the normal type now, and after that, it's you just go to work. Yeah.
And these people that maybe lost their limbs or they're gonna have like life-changing injuries, what is their typical like mood like? Or they're just sedated or they're just in pain and agony?
That's different. It's kind of like, so every brigade has their own stabilization point.
Hmm.
So they have their own medics, and the levels of the medical level
Hmm.
is different from unit to unit. Some are higher, some are not so good. And if you have like a good medic team, like the units that I've been working with, when they come into the stabilization point, you have anesthesiologists who will straight put them into sleep. You have like every type of doctor and medic
Hmm.
working, and then you have some other points where they don't have the doctors. To just have a paramedic who can stop the bleeding, who can give you some painkillers, and just keep you stable as far as they can with what they got. But some of the stabilization point, like I said, they have the full doctor team out there. They have the surgeon, they have the anesthesiologist, the nurses, and everything. So then it's kind of like just being in a normal hospital. It's just surroundings that's different.
Yeah. So yeah, I heard one of the struggles that medics have is the lack of supplies.
Yeah.
Are you facing this as well?
Yeah. So it's depending on what type of supplies, because I see the time goes like this. In some cases, like to get like tourniquets or chest seals or like things like this, it comes and goes. In certain times, it's very difficult to get a hold of it.
Hmm.
Um, but I've been very lucky working with people with great resources. So we always, most of the time, we get what we want. But the I would say like the thing that's hardest is actually getting the drugs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how can you solve this issue, getting the drugs that you guys need? Is it maybe
So that's up in the
crowdfunding?
high system here in the military in terms of the health minister.
Okay, so it's up
Um,
to them.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know what to say, but there is a lot of units who's, because they're, for example, a paramedic, they can't have certain drugs.
Mm.
So it's kind of like, what can you give them, and how can you give them the patient, to give them pain relief and everything. So this is also a very, very difficult situation. And again, like I'm saying, it's very different from unit to units.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's. I understand that when you give them this medicines or everything, you can only give it to people who's qualified to do it. So if you don't have an anesthesiologist or like an intensive care nurse or something, I understand why they will not give it to like a normal paramedic.
Mhm.
So, and I support that decision. But at the same time, it's very important to provide this medicine to the teams who's out there, because you can just imagine you being out there and then you lose an arm or a leg, or you have like a very severe injury, and it's very painful as well.
Mm.
So you want to relieve their pain as much as you can
Mhm.
with what you got.
Yeah. Knowing that you have limited resources, you told me before that you treat Russian, I guess, POWs or casualties as well.
Yeah.
How does this make you feel knowing that some of these resources could be used on Ukrainian troops?
You want my personal opinion?
I would love your personal opinion.
So I've treated a couple of Russians, just doing like normal. When we have them coming in, we always do a full medical check. So we check their body from top to toe to see if they have any injuries, and if they have injuries, we will treat them, and then they will go. Um, but I wouldn't say like they don't take prisoners. That is like if they're severely wounded. It's kind of like you don't want to drag them over the field. Like it's a big possibility that these will die. Some might. I can't say how they choose or how they will. That's impossible to say. Um, but the guys who comes into the sap point, we treat them, and we are treating them with respect. Um, and that was also actually one of the interesting cases when I started volunteering for Azov. I was in Kramatorsk hospital, and we had 3 soldiers from Azov who was coming with two Russian soldiers
Mhm.
who was like a little bit injured. And all of these, well, I think at least 2 of these Azov soldiers had been to prison. They
Mhm.
were fighting in Mariupol. They were captured. They were sitting in prison for several months, being tortured every day. And I knew this from before when I saw these guys coming in with them. It's like, oh, this is pretty interesting to see
Mhm.
how will they treat them. Like, so I ran to the director of the hospital and I said, is it possible that I can follow
Mhm.
this treatment and this procedure about these Russian soldiers coming in? And I got the green light for that. And I think I was expecting them to, be very angry, very upset,
Mhm.
and, you know, like probably I would have if it was me. But they were so like, they were showing them respect. They were very gentle with them, when they were like undressing them because we're checking to see if they had like injuries and stuff, and providing them with water, with food, good food, not like shitty
Yeah,
food. They
yeah.
gave them proper food, and they, gave them new clothes, and they were just, treating them like they would with their own guys. And I actually remember I asked one of them after I've been seeing this a couple of times, and I said like, "Hey man, like, how are you not like? Don't you want to just d-
Mhm.
punch them in the face or like I don't know something?" And his answer was like, "But we're not like them. We are better than them. Like if we're gonna treat them how they treat us, how can we complain about them if we're gonna do the same? So we just gonna he just said it simple, we're better than them and we're gonna
Mhm.
be better than them."
And
And
this is
that
the
really hit me.
yeah, this is the difference between Russians and Ukrainians. Ukrainians, they have empathy. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know. I hate to say like the O word about like these Russian soldiers, but I've talked to Sean Pinner.
No.
He's from the UK. He was captured in Mariupol. Anyways, he wrote a book. It's called Live, Fight, Survive. He was on my podcast maybe a few episodes back.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who
Yeah,
is.
yeah. So Sean, yeah, he was also I believe he was in Azov as well, right?
I don't remember
Yeah, at one
what
point,
unit he was with, but yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I've
but he
heard
got
this.
captured and he was saying that they were torturing him. They took him to basically like a black site, stabbed him in his leg so he couldn't before they got to the black site, stabbed him in his leg so he couldn't like try to run away.
Yeah.
They tortured him. They just beat the hell out of him, obviously, without saying a word to him. And then they started to electrocute him. They would put these like clamps on his fingers, and then they would just like electrocute him without even
Yeah.
asking him questions, just
It's
because.
just pure torture
Yeah,
for like no
exactly.
reason because they're, they're monsters.
Yeah, no, it's It's so crazy how these people can do that. But how do these Russian people look to you? Do they have, were they, because I always see, not these memes, but I always see stuff about how Russian soldiers are like poorly dressed. They have like a really bad kit. They don't really have the proper equipment. Sometimes wearing tennis shoes. I don't know.
No, no, like yes, I've seen Russian soldiers coming in, and I would say like older guys,
Mhm.
and I would say the older they are, the less good uniform and equipment they have. But I also see, they look trained, they have good equipment and good like uniforms, good shoes, and yeah. So I've seen both.
Okay, and regarding like, Geneva Convention, so it's your guys' responsibility to help the wounded, whether it's Russian or Ukrainian, right?
Yeah.
But also in the Geneva Convention, PMCs, private military companies, they're excluded from this, right? So you're not that you're not supposed to, but you're not, I guess, not expected, but you're not required to help them. Is this true?
I I I I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I don't
Okay.
know the
Wait, I'm
rules
just
there,
leading to the
but
question, have you ever come across a Wagner troop
yeah,
that you had to treat
yeah,
and you treated him?
yeah.
What was that like? These are the worst of the worst.
So in this situation, I was not physical. How do you
Physically there or
I was not physically there. No, I was not physically treating them,
oh,
but
okay.
I was there because I was working all night. And oh, sorry,
Sorry. Don't worry.
I was working all night, and then we had three of them coming in, and the team that was on duty, I was just there. Um, it was there is something about them because they're so vicious,
Mhm.
and you know what they did, and but this was the Ukrainian team that I was working with, and they were treating them like they treat anyone else. Like if you come on the table there and you're wounded, they will treat you like they treat everybody. There
Mhm.
is no difference.
Yeah, because these Wagner people, they come to kill Ukrainians for money. They're not forced to go. They just want to go because this is
Yeah,
what they do.
yeah.
And it's so, I don't know. It's
I can't speak for everybody, but I can only speak for the places where I've been and the people I've been working with. And it doesn't matter who you are or what you've done. If you have an injury, they will treat you. What's going on in their mind and what they personally believe about this human being, it's another thing. But they will still treat your injuries,
yeah.
and they will still have their opinion and their thoughts. But if you have a person laying on the table, you help them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
But it's
know
very difficult. I
Rima?
I do.
Yeah, because she was on my podcast before as well.
Yeah.
And I was talking to her about like a similar question because I think she said that she treated or someone she knew treated, I don't remember exactly. It was like a Russian, I guess injured Russian. And I asked her like a similar question, and she was like, you know what? I don't like doing it, but I will do it because I made an oath, and this is kind of what we have to do, whether I
Yeah.
like it or not.
Yeah.
And everyone gets the same treatment.
Yeah.
And
We're gonna be better than them. Like,
yeah,
okay, I think like if they will be punished, like with the government, if they go to prison or like this, it's not up to us to judge this person. It's a bad person. We hate them. They're disgusting. They're monsters. But we have to do our job, and then it's governments. Uh, what is it called? Like it's their job
yeah,
to
responsibility. Yeah,
what's gonna happen with them later.
yeah. And do you remember how we got in touch?
I do not.
Not through Mama Doc.
Yeah, Mama. Yes, yes. She texted me. Yeah, Mama Doc was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, she's great. I met her in Odessa through one of my friends, and she was just there because she was there, I guess.
yeah, yeah.
And such a great lady. I don't know.
Like she's my mentor down here. Like she is just like to working with her. Like she knows everything,
Yeah, she does.
everything. And people can be good at their jobs, but not everybody has the what is it called? Like to teach other.
Hmm.
And like when she explains something to you or tell you something or teach you something, you just you she's so good. I don't know how to
Yeah.
say, but she's to working with. I've been working with her now, like a little over a year,
Hmm.
and yeah, she's just a rock star with
No, definitely.
medicine.
Yeah, she showed
She's
me the book that she
oh
wrote.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is. I keep it with me everywhere, and I did many like notes in the book, and then I lost it,
Mm.
and I told her like, dude, I need a new because I'm so obsessed with this book. It's kind of like my
Yeah.
Bible. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to get, she didn't have an extra one at the time, but I wanted to get one and have her sign it. Yeah. But
I'll fix you one.
oh, fix me.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would love that if you could do
yeah.
that. But yeah, she messaged me maybe like a couple months back or something like this month back, just about what she was doing, like in her current situation, something she did reminded of when we were hanging out like in Odessa. I'm like, wow, it's so good to hear from you. So we
Yeah,
don't message
yeah,
like that often, like at all.
yeah.
But she's not. She's a rock star, like you said. Like
She is.
she's amazing.
She's just wonderful, and in the job that she's doing, you know, with teaching all of the soldiers, and I'm kind of like I'm her assistant. She's the main instructors, but I help her, and you know, I learn something from her every single day, and
Yeah.
to you know, work with her is just truly
No, she's
amazing.
a fountain of wisdom. And yeah.
Yeah. She's
Um,
like she knows
Yeah, yeah.
everything.
I know. It's true.
Like if I ask her a question, even if she doesn't know it, she will just she's so determined, like she will Google it or like call a friend or
Yeah, yeah.
something. She will find out everything. So this is she's yeah.
Yeah, no, I had some friends visiting in Odessa, and they're basically humanitarians, like raising funds for different, I guess, medical supplies, so they deliver them to Ukraine. And Mama Doc happened to be there. She showed up with my friend from Odessa, and then I introduced them, and they were talking for like 1, 2 hours, and she was telling them exactly what they need, you know, all this equipment, and my friend's like writing it down, like, okay, you
Yeah.
need this, and she's like, yeah, this we need exactly this many, and then she showed them the book, and this is when I saw the book. I'm like, oh wow, it's a
Yeah.
book,
Yeah.
and
No,
they were like so
she's
impressed by it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
She's amazing. I love her. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, she's great. She's great. So say the war ends, right? The war is over. Ukraine wins on Ukraine's terms, which is would be wonderful. What are you gonna do? You still gonna live in Ukraine?
It's a very difficult because of course I miss my family and you know my life in Norway. But I think at this point, it's kind of strange, but I don't see myself moving back to Norway. You know, I fell in love here in Ukraine. I fell in love with the person, with the country, and everything. And I'm very excited to see what the future will bring. But I really love to be here.
What do you think you'll be doing if you stay? I mean, it's really heartfelt. I felt it like from your heart, getting like goosebumps a little bit when you said that. And I really, I don't know, like I have like friends back home that always say like, why don't you just come back home? It's like not safe in Ukraine. I go, sure, maybe it's not safe, but I couldn't imagine myself living anywhere else. There's something about
Exactly.
this place, and especially since the war and how passionate Ukrainians are about their land and how respectful they've been to me as a foreigner in their country. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine me being anywhere else with any other type of people.
No.
And when you said it, and you're from, you know, an even better progressed country than the U.S., like Norway, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna be in Ukraine still. Wow.
Yeah. No, I love being here. And like the culture, the people, it's just it's so different. I'm not gonna talk shit about Norway, but it's so different in a good way. And I don't know, like what am I gonna do if I'm Sarah? I'll see.
So,
To be continued.
do you imagine yourself still working in some like medical capacity?
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of
Right on.
course. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was talking with one of my previous guests, and I was saying, you know, a lot of these people, like, I'm mostly going to say like military people. There's a lot of different types of people, but I'll just say military for this example. A lot of these military people, they were like not born to fight, but they were trained to fight, and this is basically what they've been doing for so many years. Even before they came to Ukraine to fight, they were fighting in like other wars, the U.S. military to Afghanistan to whatever. And then when the war is over, it's like, what do you do next? You're trained your whole life for this. Like then you kind
Yeah.
of maybe lose a bit of purpose and you don't know what you want to do. Cause I heard so many stories about military guys, they're fighting like against ISIS, and then they come back to their home and then they're just there for a couple of years and they're just depressed. Like they
Yeah.
don't have, they lost their purpose. And then some of them have come to Ukraine actually because they have skills and they want to, they feel like the Ukrainian cause is, worth fighting for and worth risking their life for. And they do it and they have like this purpose and they're so passionate about what
Yeah.
they do. And I don't know,
No,
it's
I don't know.
yeah,
Like I don't know. We
yeah.
just have to see.
Now Ukraine is lucky they have a person like you.
Oh, thank you for
They really are. Yeah. No,
thank you.
it's so because you could. I don't know. I respect Ukrainians that help their country, of course, but I also respect a lot foreign people that come to Ukraine because they don't have to be here. They could
Yeah.
literally be. You could be at home in Norway
I
watching the
have
beautiful fjords. I don't know.
yeah, I have sacrificed so much to be here, and I just this is my purpose now.
Mhm.
And my main motivation, like without the supplies and help, is all the brave guys and women here in Ukraine who's going to the battlefield and they're sacrificing their limbs, their lives. And for me, they like if something happens to them, they are the one who really deserve the best medical help. And if I can be a part of that, if I can just help a couple of them, it will all be worth everything that I sacrificed at home, leaving everything that I built back home and my family and my friends. It will still be worth it because, like I've said before, like this war is just not Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine is fighting for all of Europe. There is no way that Russia's going to stop. If they were able to, take Ukraine, we all know that they're not going to stop there. So this is just like a fight between the good and the evil. And I hope in the future that more of the European people will help more. They're already helping a lot, but I know there is a lot of more people who can come and help. And I really hope that will happen in the future. But I'm doing what I'm feeling it's important, and I want to just help as much as I can with my skills and my contacts and my network, and with either if it's treating someone or bringing in supplies that could save someone's life, because these guys who's out there going through hell fighting for the freedom of this country, I want them, if something happens to them, we have to take care of them. And that's like my main motivation, is that these guys is risking everything. We
Yep.
need to help them.
Yeah, one thing I'm worried about after the war is you probably already seen this. Infrastructure for disabled people is not the best in Ukraine.
No.
Yeah, Ukraine has a lot of work to do after the war.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of work, especially with all like the PTSD of the people.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean,
I'm a bit worried regarding
yeah,
that, especially with the mental issues that can be after the war. Um, but the whole world needs to come together here and help and share experience, like United States and all the other countries who had their guys in the Middle East and everything. And I think it should be a bigger focus on it. I understand now it's not the time where it's a lot of we think too much
hmm
about it, but in the future it a bit worried. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it's really hard to think about the future because I always ask people like a similar question. When do you think the war will be over? How long do you think it'll take? And nobody will give an answer. They just it has to end someday, but it's yeah,
Probably have to say what everyone else says. I don't know. I only hope. I hope that the war will end, but not on any terms. Like if the end, like if you have to choose now, the proposition that's like, okay, we can end the war if Ukraine gives all the territory that's now occupied by the Russians and everything, and for every no, absolutely not.
Yeah, 'cause all of these people
Absolutely
would have
not.
died in vain, and
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm fortunate enough that I don't know anybody that I was close to that has died in the war. But many people that I know have had friends or family members that have died, and it's sad. These people would never want to negotiate or shake hands with the Russian
Exactly.
government, to give up
Exactly.
land, and
So
it's
I hope and I believe that that will never happen. That Ukraine will say, okay, um, I don't know. It's so difficult.
yeah,
But at the same time, it's so devastating to see all the great guys and women that we lose here in this battlefield. It just breaks my heart completely. And you see not only the guys and girls that we lose, but also when the guys and girls that lose their limbs and their lives going to be changed forever. And that's also pretty devastating.
yeah. It's I remember this So my ex-girlfriend, she's from Odessa, and I used to live in Odessa like this last year. I just moved back to Kyiv. And one of her family friends, like friend of a family member, he was in the war. He got injured, like really bad injury, and he was sent to Dnipro in like the hospital. And he didn't have anybody to even give him like some I don't know some fruits, just something to eat,
Yeah.
like a snack. And he didn't have anybody, so he reached out to my ex girlfriend. And since I had like some friends in Dnipro, my colleagues, 'cause I used to have work in Dnipro, and then one of my friends, my colleagues, he went over there just to give him like bananas and apples and like peanuts
Yeah.
and just like a cola or something.
Mm.
And the guy was like so grateful,
Yeah.
and I don't know, it was just so touching,
Yeah, it
because
is. It
this guy
is.
didn't have anybody. It was just like he was like on his own after his injury.
It's so
And
sad.
yeah, my friend Vova, my ex-colleague Vova, who went over there, was saying that he was so happy to see me. And he messaged
Yeah.
my ex-girlfriend saying like, the guy that was injured, he was so grateful for helping. I don't know.
Yeah, but like in sincere, like all
Yeah.
Ukrainians, they're so grateful for
Yeah.
the help that they receive and everything, and that's why it's so good to help them because they really appreciate
Yeah.
like the people being there and want to support. So you know, I just wish it will come more people. We need more people
Yeah. Yeah.
to do everything. You
Yeah.
know, yeah.
And that's just it. And it's really sad. I think you said it before, but Ukraine is losing their best people. And
It's like they say, the best always go first. So it's
ah, those are really hard words, but they're true.
yeah.
I guess that's a good enough place to leave it. Before I start crying. So I'll tell you
It
what.
wasn't supposed to be this sad.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're basically out of time. So Jeanette, it was wonderful chatting with you. And is there anything that we missed that you want to discuss? We can discuss it now, or it's something you just want to mention.
No, but I do have a gift for you. So,
Oh,
because I'm from Norway,
oh,
I made my own personal patch. So, yeah. So this patch is only given to the medics. So
oh, am I a medic now?
there is a few
Close.
what is it called? Like a few
A few what?
no, not I forgot the
A few
word.
medics, a few
No,
patches.
no, no. Like I give to some.
Oh, okay.
Now, just not
Yeah,
not
very
only.
rarely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.
No, I love it, and I'm gonna actually. Can I put it on my bag so people can see it? Is that fine?
Of course.
Yeah, I want to show people that I'm one of the lucky few. Yeah, but well, thank you so much. No, it's been great talking to you, Jeanette. You're such a wonderful person. Like I told you before, Ukraine is lucky to have you,
Thank you.
and just if people are watching at home and they want to maybe support you or support any organizations that you can recommend, I'll tell you, why don't you look into this camera, tell people about, what you're working for, these NGOs, these volunteer organizations, just so that maybe they can support you in some capacity.
Yeah. So if you're interested in helping, you can check out Valkyrie Rescue on Instagram or their website, valkyrierescue.com. Or you can also, if you want to help out with the medical supplies to the Frontline in terms of stabilization points or anything, you can check out Frontline. I'm sorry. You can check out Emergency Frontline Aid. Thank you.
And if they want to follow you on social media,
Valhalla for you.
Valhalla for me.
That's a Valhalla medic. Yeah.
Okay, Valhalla medic. Okay,
Yeah.
right on. Well, me, I'll do like the closing right now. So thank you all at home for watching this episode of Expats in Ukraine with Jeanette. It was wonderful chatting with you, like I said a million times, because I really mean it, sincerely mean it. And if you like this episode, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. There's gonna be plenty of more interesting guests just like Jeanette over here. And leave a comment down below if you have a question for Jeanette. I'm sure she'll be reading the comments. I read the comments all the time. So at least I'll read it. But I'll tell you what, Jeanette, what I like to do at the end of the podcast, I like to shake the hand of the guest over here, like in the middle of the... If you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming out. It's been a pleasure. No, interesting story.
Thank you.